All right, guys, we're at the University of Washington, and today we are debating that birthright citizenship, also known as the just soil legal doctrine for citizenship, should be overturned or rescinded in the United States. This topic obviously coincides with Trump's recent executive order related to birthright citizenship, and I'd just like to thank everybody for the recent outpour of support on YouTube. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares, and your general support. And if you want more ways to support me, I've added links to my Discord, my Patreon, my Cashapp, and my PayPal in the description below. Thanks, guys. Let's get into it.
I'm a first generation born here. Huh? My parents were immigrants.
Really?
Yeah.
You came here when you were like a baby or something?
I was born here. But in terms of banning birthright citizenship, that's basically me.
Yeah. Okay. So let's hear. Are you? So you're in favor of banning birthright citizenship?
I'm against it.
You're against banning it.
Yeah.
You think we should keep it?
We should keep it. Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think we should keep it?
Because equal five.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like because I'm a first generation American. Both my parents were immigrants. They fled the revolution in Iran, and so technically that classifies me as a birthright citizenship. So I was born with both dual citizenship in U.S. and Iran, and I feel like there's people who from other countries, like Iran or I don't know, let's say the whole Palestine-Israel conflict, Ukraine. There's places of war where they escape. America in general is built on the fundamental idea of, the American dream, where people, back, let's take the 1800s, right? The Irish potato famine. That's, people fled Ireland to come to America in order to have a great job opportunity, somewhere where they can have food, pursue their economic dreams, and, build a stable family here in America. We saw the same with the Italians in the late 1800s. A lot of, there's high Italian Jewish populations in New York. Nowadays you see it with Chinese immigrants, Indian immigrants, where they're pursuing economic opportunities. That's what America's built upon. So taking away birthright citizenship, it's basically jeopardizing the future of the workforce in America, for future economic opportunities. For me, I'm blessed. Honestly, I'm blessed with American citizenship. I could have been in Iran, where 18 up, there's a mandate serving for the military. I could have been in the military right now, not have as good as an education, not be here at the University of Washington. And yeah, that's basically the beginnings of my, just the basic foundation for my opinions.
Yeah, sure.
Let's hear your take.
Okay, so were your parents, by the time they had you, by the time you were born, were your parents both like naturalized American citizens?
I think, they obtained American citizenship before I was born. My mom, she moved to, my mom left, she was like 9 years old when the revolution happened. She moved to Germany for like 8 years. Moved to Seattle area her junior year of high school, and then went to University of Washington for undergrad, residency, medical school. And my dad, he moved, so he served in the military there, and then he went to college, moved to New York in '94. He was there during 9/11, moved to Boston a couple years, then met my mom, moved out here, got married, had me and my sister.
Yeah. So what I would say is that you should be an American citizen, but not because you were born geographically at random on American soil. I think that you should be an American citizen because both of your parents were American citizens when you were born. I think if you're born of American citizens, that should make you an American citizen, even if they immigrated here. If they were naturalized as American citizens, which your parents were, that makes you an American citizen in my view. Right? So just being born on the soil, I don't think does. You said that you think that America was built on immigration and the American dream and bringing people here and blah, 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 whatever. And I agree with you, but just because people aren't American citizens because they're born on the soil doesn't mean that you can't continue to naturalize American citizens out of foreign populations. Yeah. So let's say there's like a lot of doctors from Nigeria who want to come here, and we need doctors. Yeah. We can still naturalize them and make them American citizens, but if you say, if you're just born on this soil, you're an American citizen, you now risk that a lot of people just skip the line, come here, they don't have any good tangible skills that contribute to the workforce, and the government effectively has no mitigation procedures for preventing that from happening, and they actually have less control over the workforce. And I think that jeopardizes the American workforce a lot more because you end up with a lot more people who potentially drain the system, and the government has no control over who is able to get that citizenship and who isn't, because all it requires is just hop the border and drop anchor and you're good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not just being an American citizen. So that's what I would say is like, I don't think that it really matters what that person gets out of it, because I think that you need a situation where both the person, the immigrant, gets a lot out of it, and the people in the country get a lot out of it too.
Yeah, of course. One question for you is, what if they don't have American citizenship? What if they have like green cards or they have a work visa where they're trying to apply for American citizenship by the time they have their kid? Like they're really like putting all their effort into becoming American citizens. They're trying to follow the American dream. It's not like just like, oh, a 3-month pit stop, have the baby, and then go back to the country of origin, give the baby the U.S. citizenship. What if, that scenario comes into play?
Yeah, I would say you could probably maybe give that kid some kind of visa or something after it's born. But I think probably if you want to be an American citizen at the time of your birth, I think probably at least both of your parents are going to need to be permanent residents, or at least one of them is going to need to be an American citizen. You can combine it too, where it's like it's a combination of soil and permanent residency of your parents or citizenship of your parents. But I don't think it can be just the geographical location, just happening to be here at the time you're born. And this is something that a lot of countries have had to come to terms with. Currently, there are only 4 other countries in the world that have just soil legal doctrine, where if you're born on the soil, you become a citizen of that country. A lot of countries used to have it. Czech Republic overturned it in 2013, Dominican Republic in 2010, Australia in 2007, New Zealand 2006, Ireland 2005, Germany, Denmark, France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal all used to have this doctrine. And because of birth tourism, they call it, where people just immigrate to the country to have a baby so that they can drop anchor and stay there forever, they had to overturn this because it was becoming a real problem.
What you're trying to tell me is that, you're basically going to ban citizenship for everybody in America who's born in American soil, but their parents were immigrants, in the way where the parents were not American citizens to begin, and not naturally born on U.S. soil.
Yeah, only for people who were just born on the soil. It's their only qualifier. So if your parents are citizens, you can get citizenship. I think you should automatically be a citizen when you're born. If you're born on the soil and perhaps your parents are permanent residents, then maybe that could qualify you as well. which by the way coincides with Trump's recent executive order. So I think that could work, but it can't just be the soil. And you would qualify for American citizenship regardless because your parents were citizens. You're totally protected. But this just gives the American government the control to decide who comes here and who doesn't. Definitely. Because otherwise it's unmitigated and unfettered entrance to the country. What if the Taliban came here, or not the Taliban? What if Al Qaeda came here and they just had a bunch of babies here and built a standing army in America? Or what if Russia invaded America and they brought their spouses, or they had female soldiers and they had a bunch of babies in America? Are the Russian soldiers American citizens? It doesn't. The geographical location doesn't seem to really be important. It seems that it would mostly have to be, do you have some kind of cultural or familial tie to the country that would qualify you as an American citizen? I don't think geographical location makes sense. So.
Yeah. I feel like one of the main things in recently, one thing that America does not want to become is what's going on in Canada right now, where there's almost too much of an influx of immigration to the point where, Trudeau is under fire. It's chaos and corruption going on there. And obviously, Trump himself, he obviously toyed around with the idea of annexing Canada, making it the 51st state.
Governor Trudeau you're talking about?
Yeah.
Governor Trudeau.
Governor Trudeau. Governor Trudeau,
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's in a way where it's got me thinking. It's also similar with Canada and how the UK, money laundering as well there too. It's in a way where it's you're having foreign, influences interfere with domestic activities going on. So that's the way I see it too. But I can see your take too, especially when you factor in booming economies, especially in the EU, where they banned this, and then Germany, for example, right? They're the 4th largest, maybe even close to 3rd now that Japan's on the downfall. Third largest economy in the world. And they banned this, birthright citizenship, and look where they're at.
And basically, how it works in a lot of these countries is, like I said, at least one parent is a citizen of the country, or both are permanent residents. And usually, if it's related to both being permanent residents, if the child's born on the soil of that country, then the child can go apply later for citizenship, but they get to stay there for however long. And it just basically makes it easier for them, the child, to get citizenship if the parents are permanent residents.
I think what the general case of what we're talking about is when I think that you and I think are having some disagreement on is the case of illegal immigration and having children and what you call anchor babies. I think that's a generally accepted term. Anchor babies to hold the family in place. That child is born in America, will be raised in America, will be raised in an American school.
But why should it be raised in American soil? Just because it happened to have been born here, why does that mean it should be allowed to be here forever? Its parents aren't citizens. It has no ties culturally or familially to the country. Why does it? But why? Why does it have to be raised here? Just because it was born here, it's got citizenship, and that's why it'll be raised here. But why? Why would we give it citizenship? Because if you don't give it citizenship just because it was born here, then it's not raised here. It's going to go back to where its parents came from, right? And that's the only reason it's allowed to be raised here, is because it was born here. So why? Why is that important?
I think the reason why people the word tolerate comes to mind. It may be a bit harsh, but I think the reason why people tolerate anchor babies being raised and educated in America is because I think my philosophical position on humans, for one, is most people are generally the same. Most people, I think, given the opportunity, given the training, and provided, of course, that they take the training and they do something with it, I think can achieve great things. And I think the hope is, and I don't think that the hope is misplaced, that an anchor baby born in America, raised in America, will go on to do great things for America. Well,
but what, like, how do we know this though? Like, I just don't see why that geographical location matters, is what I'm saying. It's like, I don't understand why that geographical location means that even if you came here and were born of parents that came here for no reason other than to just have you here so they could stay forever, and they blatantly disregarded, disrespected, and broke American laws when they came here, that they should just be allowed to, like, drop anchor and stay here because they had you here, and that means you should be allowed to be raised in American soil. It seems like you're going to need some kind of tie to the country other than geographical location, because you could go anywhere at any time, and that doesn't grant you citizenship or access to anything else. If I break into a social club, I don't have to be a member of that club just because I broke into it and happened to be there one time, right? You have to gain membership, usually. You have to pay for it or apply for it or do whatever. In every other situation, except for this one, it's like if you just happen to be here at the time you were born because your parents did an illegal deed, suddenly you are now a citizen.
I think this circles back to better enforcement or actual enforcement rather. I think the enforcement is rather lackluster on this regard. The enforcement of laws that say who can or cannot, under what circumstances, enter the country legally. I think that's what's wanted here, is more enforcement of that.
But it's very difficult to enforce that law. It's
hard.
I mean, we have hundreds of miles of border wall. Of border stretching between the United States and Mexico, and then hundreds of miles in the north between Canada and the United States. And it's like, it's not difficult to enforce in terms of like, yeah, we can have the laws, but now you have to like send people out to make sure people are following the laws. Because you have the laws and people are going to follow them. They disrespect those laws every day. Even when there is strong enforcement mechanisms, there were still 11 million illegal immigrants living in this country. So like, people are still going to do it anyway. And if you allow them to drop anchor and have anchor babies, now they're incentivized to do it, even more than they may have been otherwise. So like, if you don't have anchor babies, now it's like, oh yeah, I might have a better life. But if you allow anchor babies and you have birthright citizenship, or just soil, it's called, it's a legal doctrine, now you have another layer of incentive that gives people a reason to come here illegally, I think. And if you have that incentive, people are going to break the law. So it'd be about de-incentivizing the law from being broken. And the other thing too is like when you have more lax border laws, like when Biden was president, for example, more people illegally immigrate because there's that incentive there. They have an incentive structure. I'm going to be less likely to get caught, or if I do get caught, I'm going to be released. And now that Trump is president, you're probably going to see a lot less people immigrate because they know that it was one of his main policy platforms that he's going to crack down on the border.
So how would you propose, supposing, okay, there must be a system of naturalization.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Even if, yes. So would it be a stretch to suggest that an illegal immigration family could still have a child and that child would go on to be naturalized? Or
the child shouldn't be disqualified from being naturalized, but I do think, in my personal view, if you illegally immigrate here, you should be disqualified from naturalizing. So, like, if you've violated 8 U.S. Code 1325 improper entry by alien, you've now shown blatant disregard and disrespect for the laws of the United States, disqualified. You cannot be naturalized. The child hasn't committed that crime, and the sins of the father are not passing on to the child. That's not what I'm advocating for. The reason I want to revoke the birthright citizenship isn't to punish the child. It's just because I don't see a genuine, pragmatic, or useful purpose for granting citizenship based on geographical location. But, like, yeah, of course there should be a legitimate system for naturalization.
So if there's a system for legitimate naturalization, then what prevents a family from crossing the border illegally, having a child, raising the child, and then then the child naturalizes?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, the thing would be like, does the child have like a useful skill that we need? I suppose, but I mean, technically, like, it depends on the situation, because like also 8 U.S. Code 1324 is harboring an illegal alien, and if this kid's harbored his parents, and that's probably also...
Kid's a minor.
Yeah, well, it depends on how old he is, right? Or if he's taking care of his parents or whatever. Now you're looking at 8 U.S. Code 1324, so it just depends. It just depends the situations. I mean, has he broken the laws? Has he violated the laws? Does he have a skill that's useful to us? It could potentially happen. I wouldn't encourage that happening, because I think that also creates an incentive if it happens at a high rate. So I wouldn't encourage it. I would be focused mostly on skills and how productive can this person be in our society. Do we need their skills at the time, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, we need a lot of doctors. Bring doctors. If we have too many doctors, don't bring any doctors. You know what I'm saying?
What about the heavy reliance on immigrant labor in the United States as a core of our economic power in being the country that we are? We, to a substantial degree, fortify ourselves, at least economically, with the labor of all of these different immigrants. So wouldn't you naturally think that you would want this influx of individuals who have historically provided a lot for America? Or is it just that they are always, not always, but going to be people that just trash the country, just make it worse?
According to the House Committee on Budget, illegal immigrants are a net negative to the U.S. economy. They take more than they put in. So regardless of that, even if they were contributing more than they take, and they were this backbone of America, and they were working so hard, and we really needed them to stay afloat. People say that. We're talking about illegal immigrants. The only jobs illegal immigrants are getting are jobs that don't pay as much as American citizens. Actually, illegal wages. Like, you might as well, like slave wages, right? So them being the backbone of America, even if that were true, which I don't think it is, because we have millions of Americans that become 18 years old each year, both ones that have high school diplomas and ones that don't, that can go into high-skilled or low-skilled or mid-skilled labor. Even if that were the case, I don't think that justifies slave labor. It really seems like first you had white Southerners saying, well, if we free the slaves, who's going to pick all our crops? And now you have a lot of white liberals saying, well, if we deport all the illegal immigrants, who's going to pick all our crops? And it's like, don't we see a problem with that? We're talking about people that are getting paid effectively slave wages. What a lot of people don't realize either is when I was at the border, I talked to law enforcement, and what they told me is effectively all illegal immigration runs through the cartels. So to get into the United States, you need a guide. You need to know somebody who's going to both help you evade law enforcement and somebody who's going to help you traverse the desert, especially during the summer. Because if you don't have somebody who can help you with that, you're just going to die of exposure or you're going to get caught. So they need somebody to guide them, and that costs money. And a lot of times they don't have money. And so what the cartel says is, all right, look, we understand you don't have money. It's fine, whatever. We'll get you in, but you're going to owe us. So then they go work jobs in America for slave wages, and what they do make goes to the cartel. They get just enough to keep themselves alive, and then everything else goes straight to the cartel. And it just keeps feeding that machine. And they're slaves. And if they don't pay the cartel, they kill their families in Mexico or they kill them in America. And it happens every day. And that was the overwhelming consensus from law enforcement officers that I talked to.
Okay. So naturally then, do you think it should be because this is a problem.
Yeah.
Do you think it is something that America should focus on and try and fix to make sure that we don't have these almost slaves in our country anymore?
Yeah,
I feel like that should be prioritized over just sweeping the problem away.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to resolve both issues in order for this to happen. I think probably the more pressing issue is the illegal immigration and the allowance of the illegal immigration in the first place, because like I said, it just feeds the cartels. And that's where you get the slaves. Like American citizens, people who were born of America, born on this soil as of right now, become American citizens, and people who hire them are not going to pay them less money. The only reason you would hire an illegal immigrant is because you can pay them less money than an American citizen. They're under the table, right?
What about to give them an opportunity?
I don't think anyone hires them for that reason.
You don't think anyone has that sense of moral pride or dignity?
To hire an illegal immigrant? No. The only reason that you hire an illegal immigrant in the United States is because you can hire a fuck ton of them for next to nothing. That is the only reason. Because you can't legally pay. I couldn't legally pay you. If I hired you right now to work my camera, I couldn't pay you $1 an hour, right? But if you were an illegal, I could. I could, I mean, not legally, but I could do it. I could get away with it. You get what I'm saying? As long as I didn't get caught. And it's much easier to do that to illegal immigrants because they don't have the same rights as American citizens. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because they're not supposed to be here anyway. It's kind of like if you go tell on the person who's paying you $1 an hour, it's like mutual destruction. You get what I'm saying? Hey, this guy's paying me $1 an hour. I'm an illegal immigrant. Okay, now you're getting deported. And this guy might get in a little trouble.
Okay. So in this instance, the core of the problem is the presence of these illegal citizens. If that is the cause, then wouldn't you want to either amend the actions of these almost slave owners, or would you want to make them legal so that the rights, the human moral rights, not legal, moral, which, don't exist.
It has to be through legal, yeah.
But the moral obligation to treat these people as people, do you think that should be tackled by making them citizens, thereby no longer making them these slaves,
but then
these people that are...
Then you slam into the same problem where it's like anyone who comes here is automatically a citizen. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, now you have unmitigated... You have unmitigated immigration and no control over your borders. Now terrorists could come here and have mass amounts of babies and build a standing army in the United States. Like, should it be based on geographical location or should it be based on descent? Because I think it should be based on descent.
Okay. So, from what I can tell, a lot of your issues, the negatives with this, is perpetuated by this fear of foreign bodies using this, or terrorists, the continued.
No, it's just a logical issue with it. Like the possibility for destruction or problems to arise is massively exacerbated by the allowance of just soil laws. Whereas if you make it through descent, you're probably going to you could potentially still have some issues, but it's going to be far less likely than if you just have unmitigated control. Like, you also run into an issue where you could have like an infinite citizenship glitch, where now theoretically, if all it takes is to be born on American soil, you could have a scenario where every person on the planet is an American citizen if their parents came here and had them. And now you have it's not going to happen, right? Very unlikely.
Wouldn't America want that?
Every person on the planet to be an American citizen? We don't have the resources to sustain that.
Wouldn't you want a worldwide allegiance to a country that would want
But citizenship doesn't equal allegiance. That's the crux of the problem, is like they could still be loyal to the country their parents came from. And not only that, even if they were all allegiant to, had allegiance to America, you still run into the problem if we don't have the resources for that. We don't have the space for it. We don't have the resources for it. It's obviously not going to happen, but you could have a massive citizenship boom where there are more people who don't have allegiance to America than there are people who do have allegiance to America, and then you're fucked. You get what I'm saying? Okay. So like, there's just so many like paradoxical problems with just soil laws that have caused so many countries already to overturn it. I don't know why people kind of like freak out over it in the United States, but it's not, outside of the U.S., it's not a controversial thing. There's like 4 other countries that have it. Canada, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina, I think, are the only other countries in the world that have it.
Okay.
And they even have some restrictions.
Okay. So 2 points on that.
Sure.
Both individual things. Your recent point there in the sentence that you just said, couple sentences.
Yeah.
Do you think us, as America, being one of the very few countries that do this kind of thing, doesn't that naturally make us more appealing to then make it so that individuals come over more often?
I think it makes us more appealing to abuse.
Abuse?
So I think it makes I think it makes us more appealing for people who want to illegally immigrate to a place so that they can have a baby here that becomes a citizen of that country. I think it makes us far more appealing than anywhere else. We're the most strong economically in the world, and we're one of 5 countries in the world that has these laws. Okay. Makes us very appealing for abuse. And what that is just like exploitation. You're just cutting the system. It doesn't seem like, I just don't understand why geographical accident should determine citizenship. It seems like it should be based on lineage. I don't, it's the way the entire world does it, and it makes the most sense because you have the most, it creates the most ties to the country and the most likely scenario that you're going to be loyal to it.
Okay. So if America, in your eyes, given this instance, is a target of abuse, being one of the few countries that do this. Do you think that in equal sense it could be one of the few targets of hope for people that are displaced in the world? People who are bothered, they see America as a bastion.
I think hope for them and detriment for us, I think. I mean, like I said, illegal immigrants are a net negative. They're a net drain on the U.S. economy. They take more than they give, and we create a situation where if you have an American citizen in this country, you have a child that becomes an American citizen in this country, now the parents are allowed to stay here. It's an anchor baby, right? Now anyone can just drop anchor and be here for as long as they want and skip the immigration line, while everyone else waits and works hard for their citizenship. And I think it creates a real problem.
So does this, I guess, this negative minority, do they define the policy that should be taken with every single individual that crosses? Like, for instance, some of the people that I know that are kind individuals who have provided for the nation, who have shared sentiments of American nationality, do you think that I guess you could say, mistakes of the few should define the policy for the many?
Well, it's not a minority. Everyone who's in this country illegally has broken the law. Every single one of them, without exception. All of them.
Is that equivalent to these issues that you're talking about, like rape and smuggling? Do you think that's equivalent morally?
I think if you've shown blatant disregard for the laws and standards of this country, I think that the likelihood that you will commit another crime is extremely high.
Interesting. Okay.
Think about it like this. Think about it like if I have you over to my house and I say, all right, so I shoot you a text real quick before you come over, and I say I'm not going to be home immediately. Just keys under the mat, whatever. Just take your shoes off at the door, and the bathroom is the third door on the left. I walk in and you have tracked mud into my house and taken a shit on my kitchen counter. I'm not gonna want you in my house anymore, right? Your first action entering into my house was breaking the rules and disrespecting the home that I live in. But let's say you do the dishes after. I don't care that you did the dishes. You took a shit on my counter and tracked mud into my house. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Why'd you let me in?
I don't know. Maybe we were friends, or maybe you just walked in. I don't know. But I don't think it really matters. Maybe we were just friends and you thought you could come into my house.
Well, then that's
maybe
just a whole different
maybe
scenario.
you were my neighbor, right? Which seems pretty analogous, right?
Whole different scenario.
Or I told you, let's say I told you, if you ever come over, I'm not saying you can come over or we're planning anything, but we're neighbors. If you ever come over to my house, just know that the bathroom's on the left and take your shoes off at the door, and then you just decide to waltz on over, and Cam won't mind because we're friends, we're neighbors, and you again track mud into my house, take a shit on my kitchen counter, and then do the dishes after. I don't care that you did the dishes, I just care that you tracked mud in and shit on the floor or on the counter.
Okay.
Right?
So I feel like, especially for this prior friend analogy or prior established neighbor, we were like, oh, I like him. He's a good neighbor.
Yeah, maybe a barbecue together in the backyard or something once.
I feel then our relationship then started on a degree of trust then, correct? So then I feel like, again, chicken and the egg here thing, but that degree of, you at some point wanted to let me in to begin with, and then you're just setting that starting line to just when I enter the house, as opposed to the relationship.
Let's say you heard me tell my wife. Let's say, or one of my other friends. Say we had a barbecue at your place or something, or maybe we were just taking the trash out and saw each other, and my friend was like, hey, I'm gonna head in now, and I was just like, all right, shoes off at the door, bathroom's on the left. And then you just decided, well, we're friendly enough. I'll just head on over to his house. Maybe he's got something good cooking in there.
At that point, the analogy for real life, now that's just blatant
disrespect, right?
Well, obviously disrespect, but also just that's not even the equivalency of attempting to immigrate. That's just taking advantage. Going over to take advantage.
Well, I don't see any way that it's not just going to take advantage when you disrespect the laws of the country as your first action entering it. You're going only for your own gain. You completely disregard the situation, the wants, the needs, the desires, the aspirations of everyone else who is in very similar situations to you, people who are trying to legally immigrate to the country. You say, fuck them, I'm cutting the line, and I just walk right in, right? So you tracking the mud through my house is the equivalent of violating 8 U.S. Code 1325, improper entry, right? And you taking a shit on the counter is the equivalent of any other crime you might have committed along the way. And then you did the dishes because you're a hardworking American in my house. Like I said, I don't care that you did the dishes. I'm more concerned with the other things you did that were bad.
I feel at that point then it's an issue of, why did they come over, right? You got to ask the eventual, why did this even start? Why did they feel the need to say, I can break into your house and take a shit on your floor or counter?
Either one.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter.
All right. Because,
same effect.
We're talking, am I taking a shit on Texas
Let's say it's
or
the
New
counter.
Mexico? But, all right, yeah. No, I take a shit on counter, whatever. That original issue of, why did I think I could come over, and what is it that is kind of building that issue, right? I feel like...
Let's say you saw me put the box for a really nice apple pie in my garbage can the night before, and you're like, dude, I'm going to get me some of that apple pie. I know he's got. You smell it coming from the window. It's wafting into your window, and you're like, damn, I got to get me some of that good life. He's got the apple pie over there, so you run over and grab it.
Yeah, that's
and help yourself to the kitchen counter on the way over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like at that point it's just turning into a question of robbery. Then I don't think it's even a matter of, it's your house, right? It's your stuff. It's just I saw a pie and I'm doing it.
Yeah, isn't that what they see? Is a big old American pie?
My.
In America, my Miss American Pie sitting over the border to Texas, and they walk right over and say, I need to get me some of that good life, that American pie. I'm going to go get some. And they disregard the laws of the country on the way in, and they go and grab a slice.
Okay. So what about this? You are a parent, right? You have a kid.
Yeah.
You send him off to daycare or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm also a parent, and I have a kid. Sure. And I send mine over to daycare.
Yeah.
And our kids get along. They are just like, how about you come over to my place, right? Let's hang out. And naturally, my kid thinks, okay, well then, I guess let's go over to his house, right? He could also go over to my place, but in this instance, going over to yours. Where then, obviously, you don't trust me to hang out in your house. It's our kids that have this relationship. It's this next generation of sorts. Where then my kid is allowed to stay at your house, and then as they play, you realize, this is a good kid, right? He's not shitting on my counter. He's not eating my pie. And eventually, you're like, okay, I trust my kid with your kid. Your kid can come over and hang out with my kid. I feel like naturally that seems okay to allow this kid who has proven themselves separate to their parents to then venture into your house.
But he can come visit every now and then, but he doesn't own the house just because he's been there a couple times. You get what I'm saying? Or, if your wife came over and had him on my living room floor, he's not like, you guys don't own the house now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, what are your questions?
My question is what is your proposed change in citizenship, and what would it look like if it's not birthright citizenship?
Yeah, so I would say that I think at least one parent has to be a U.S. citizen, or both have to be permanent residents of the country. This is an issue that a lot of countries have run into recently. So the Czech Republic repealed it's called just soil, is when if you're born on the soil of the country, you become a citizen. Just soil, it's a legal doctrine. So
on the soil of the country, isn't that birthright citizenship?
Yeah, basically. That's the Latin term. Yeah, so they repealed it. So there have been numerous countries that have repealed just soil citizenship, which is no requirements other than you're just born on the soil. So Czech Republic overturned it in 2013, Dominican Republic in 2010, Australia 2007, New Zealand 2006, Ireland 2005, Germany 2000, Denmark 1999, and the list just keeps going. France, Italy, et cetera, et cetera. I think you run into a lot of paradoxical issues when you have just soil citizenship, and I think that it creates a lot of vulnerabilities within the country.
Okay. That was my only question. I have no other thoughts on this topic.
So, guys, just before we wrap this video up, I just want to say, put that back on the table, Adrian. This is Adrian, and he brings me tacos every time I'm here. He bought cookers and all kinds of stuff for him to make tacos, and he cooks them out of his dorm and sells them to people. So if you're at UW, if you go to school here, you should definitely hit Adrian up, find out where he's selling his tacos, and buy some. Where do you sell your tacos out of?
Out of my dorm.
Where can they find you?
I'm in McMahon. Usually you can send a message to me.
Adrian said he's been looking for a job to help him get through school, and he couldn't find one, so he bought some induction cookers, and now he makes tacos. That is a grind. That is a grind. He bought cookers, I bought cameras. It's how you do it, man. And they're investments, and it's a very, not a lot of people have the gall to, you know, start their own like kind of small business, you know what I mean, and really work at it. So, but he brings me tacos literally every time I'm here. I'm about to take some home, and this is his taco. He brought me tacos right here. So, thank you, Adrian. I really appreciate it, and I hope you get some sales from this.
I hope so. I hope so too. I've just been trying to find a job, and I tell my friends, I'm like, I like cooking tacos. I'm not the biggest fan of cooking, but I mean I like cooking tacos. I like meeting people. I like the perspectives that people bring to me. It's just that I feel bad because I'm like, I want to give people, you know, the opportunity to get tacos, but I can't give them it because I'm so low scale. And a lot of people like have come out.
You're saying like you can't give them away, is what you're basically.
Yeah, no, it's like.
Well, you bought the stuff. You got to pay off those investments. So
it's been
you gotta sell them.
It's been fun. It's been really fun, and I thank everybody who's like helped me out. I thank you, Cam.
Yeah.
Thank you for this.
You're welcome. What do you put in your tacos?
Huh?
What do you put in your tacos?
Well, I do really basic tortilla meat, which is beef, and then I season the beef, and then. If you want, you can put onion and cilantro, and then I also make my own salsa.
Nice.
I remember when people were like, "Oh, I'll just go get some salsa from like my room because I have some original." I'm like, "Oh wait, this isn't store bought. This is like, you know, I made it myself." And they're like, "You made it yourself?" Like, yeah, I make my everything. I'm really close to actually start making my own tortillas, so it's like, once I start picking up steam, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'll start making like, you know, tortillas and making them by hand, and I hope I can, you know.
Perfect. Well, buy some tacos, guys. Seriously. If you go to UW, I know a lot of people from UW watch these videos, so buy some tacos from Adrian. You probably recognize him from some of my other videos, my older videos. Buy some tacos from Adrian.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, man.